Welcome to Mysteries of the Past with Adar. Have you heard of the mysterious Tartaria Empire? Discover with us how its history was erased and how it possessed advanced technologies centuries ago. Watch now to uncover the astonishing truth that has never been told before. Was the year 48 BC when the Library of Alexandria was burned. It is one of the largest and most massive libraries of ancient history after the flood. Nearly 1 million heritages of knowledge, some of which date back to the first era of mankind, were erased. With it, most of the first history of existence is being rewritten, a history that was mostly based on lying and forgery. Anyone who reads history finds something missing in contradictory stories. For more than 100 years, Lodge 33 has been teaching boys in schools and universities that our technological civilization is the highest civilization and that the societies that preceded it did not reach what we have now. But the remains of buildings and discoveries tell a different story, a great story that the Calvinists hid behind walls of iron and fire, walls built with free construction and guarded with illusion and deception to rebuild history according to a known concept. By Freemasons, how can society see after he breathed into the contract with the voice of a devil who retreated and whispered about matters? 3, and he said to women, make them ashamed of the title of the mistress of the house by associating it with failure and ignorance. If you relapse, the period in which they were created turned into a trial of fire and hell that spared them from burning. The legacy of the ancients and the distortion of reality towards ignorance and darkness, which is what Satan has planned. With the 3 things, if the mother is destroyed, the family collapses, and if the family collapses, it is lost. Communities and the sign of loss is that true knowledge becomes an illusion and the city becomes unknown, the ignorant tramp. So the community will have a star and a role model. What we will tell you in this long documentary is not a Hollywood movie or NASA for space, but it is a great thing that will open the door for you towards the beginning of the 3 and 2,300 years ago. While people waste hundreds of hours in front of movies and series, give yourself a few minutes a week for what we will reveal to you in this statement. Who will tell the story of a history that was burned with malice and fire, a history that had science and civilization? Do not mention it in schools and universities, as these minutes may remove a veil from your eyes, from illusion and darkness towards a truth defiled by illusion and darkness, to hide a matter. Who preceded us in the matter of forbidden sciences and deleted history? This is a matrix, the first branch of the Accolin. To understand what happened and what will come in this documentary, we must first take you back to something over and over again in history, and the goal is one. In ancient history, before and after Christ, it was established. Victorious empires and kingdoms repeat the same thing when entering the land of the defeated peoples, which is burning their offices and books to destroy their history and rewrite a history that is compatible with it. With the victor's policy, you must understand this well, because it is one of the pillars of understanding this documentary. In the 7th century BC, the Library of Ashurbanipal was burned in the Assyrian capital, which included thousands of texts and early sciences by the Scythians, and his office was burned. Prosepolis Persian, year 320 BC, and in the year 48 BC, the largest library of the Second Dynasty was burned. For humans, it is the Library of Alexandria at the hands of the Romans, and history mentions there are many other examples, including the burning of books and scholars during the Chinese Qin dynasty. The Spanish destroyed the manuscripts of the Maya, which contained the sciences of the ancients and technology during the invasion. The Mongols to the world burned a great library in the Castle of Death near the Caspian Sea. It contained about 2,000 books and manuscripts, while Hulagu and his Mongol hordes completed it. It invaded the ancient Asian civilizations and targeted libraries in most of the cities it passed through. Baghdad was the most prominent of the violated cities, with its law schools. Mathematics, literature, and libraries have included the same manuscripts of different cultures of the world. Even the Tigris River was filled with the color of ink, so he burned books and knowledge and hid most of it. The first goal of the victor is to erase the history of the vanquished, hide it, and destroy its sciences and civilization so that he will not be able to stand after that, which opens the door to formulating a new history based on what he wants. And the victor sees it. But the great Holocaust that history has never witnessed was in the 8th and 19th centuries. It was not based on burning books and manuscripts, but rather on stealing them and hide it and burn its cities completely, which witnessed the rise of the greatest civilization, technology in the second covenant of mankind. After we have shown you the basic introduction to understanding the documentary, we will sail with you in the archive of the 19th century and early 20s, and we offer you video clips to a world that most people have not seen today, which will open the door to questions. And with it, you will discover a forbidden truth that has been deleted from history. All films and series that manipulate the viewer's consciousness and awareness were filmed, and it reshapes the misleading understanding of humans that the great technical era started in the 20th century, 100 years ago, and schools and universities were planted on the previous eras were based on primitiveness when compared to our civilization. But the evidence, the world that revealed the secret nearly 2 decades ago, narrated a world different from what they imposed it on people's minds. And the goal of revealing it was not for the sake of enlightenment, but for a malicious reason. And we will reveal the cunning in a short clip. Back to the end of the 19th century, the sidewalks were in vital stations and centers. It is mobile and not fixed. In a technology that was not applied in our time until the end of the 20th century, we have chosen. You can start with this technique because it is the simplest in what is coming, so the movement is at the end. The 19th century had a story that many fiction and fairy tale books see. In a clip from the British archives, old cars appear to have the ability to fly by transforming wings. It is foldable, and we see that its speed is high, and the video was taken from cameras that are not primitive, as this is described in another story that you will see in the coming technical documents. Cars did not stop flying only at that time, but they were transformed into seaboats, or it floats on the sea by itself, with the property of the reverse propulsion of the water surface. What you see in front of you in this video shows cars moving between streets and rivers as if it was a common occurrence almost a century ago. 130 years ago, the 90s generation only saw amphibious and flying cars in science fiction films. How could it not be when the forum channels show a world of the future in which flying cars, in fact, this matter was not from the future, but from the past and in the modern. As for cars, they were equipped with a system that opened automatically when they collided with a person, which reduces the determination of the collision to save him from death or harm. Is not clear in our time today the use of this technology to stop the death of hundreds of thousands of people annually due to accidents? Or is it the opposite of this? It may surprise you to know that most cars were powered by electricity not fuel. Its advertisements and power stations were widespread and extensive, and given the technology, aviation, individual carriers were available to people through horizontal propulsion. It was used to carry soldiers, and airborne guard missions and flying saucers were also not a fantasy, as it is published today, but it was photographed and prepared for use. Al-Harbi. Although these technologies are amazing, they are only the beginning, because you will see more complex technologies that everyone heard about 20 years ago, announced in the beginning of the era of mobile prosthetic limbs as an unprecedented technological breakthrough, but the truth is that it existed more than 100 years ago. In a rare clip, an arm is shown being displayed. Connected to the amputated limb, it allows the person to open and close his hand to pick up objects and do with his various life matters. The manufacture of robotic human organs was not strange at that time. The robot was also present and visible in the American Archive clips where it was working on its house. Computerized electrical, and some of them are controlled wirelessly, and wireless electricity will have a major revelation in this document. Show an ad for an electric home that showcases technologies, surveillance cameras, and their connection to display devices, and then the special techniques are shown. Central in temperature control, and within the hall, a barbecue device connected to a control unit. The central kitchen is equipped with a recipe display screen and an electric wave oven, while the living room is equipped with a movie screen. You may ask, what about electricity? Tesla's wireless. We certainly won't forget this, but Tesla's research wasn't just for powering wireless devices, but to provide the entire world with static electricity that works on connecting the earth to a current that does not harm humans and is completely free. But this project has been stopped despite its success because the 33rd Lodge does not allow the loss of trillions of dollars due to distribution of electricity for free. And the important question here is, did Tesla invent electricity and wireless control or not? After discovering what was found in the documents that were revealed by the secret, he said that we are rediscovering the techniques of the previous great civilization in order to rely on them and then develop them. On the other side of the video clips, many pictures were revealed. The photography that showed techniques that surpass what was mentioned and presented to you with everything that came. Follow This report was not available previously, but it was mentioned later in stories and novels, especially Gulliver's novels, which talked about advanced technologies and considered to be inspired by the imagination. They were nothing but preparation for humans for what is coming, to believe that these technologies are their creation and that they are nothing but thieves. What we have presented to you is only the tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds of images and techniques that you can find on the government website, but there is a question that every child asks. Why? These technologies were hidden and stuck in science fiction books, and now they're being released. The simple answer is in order to rewrite and falsify history. Listen carefully to what is coming. The 18th and 19th centuries, when these technologies appeared, people knew that they were a legacy. Those who preceded them in that period and the Freemasons Association became more powerful and influential. The world was preparing for the New World Order, a world dominated by absolute distortion of history and led by one organization. During the 19th century, the theory of evolution was launched. Atheism was chosen with the dinosaur lie in order to support that theory, and the earth was adopted. The ball that the Greeks wove, and at the same time the superior technologies, were prevented and hidden. from appearing completely and turning what people saw in that era into stories and myths. History was rewritten and taught to students according to the Calvinist approach, which is based on man. The primitive ignorant developed from the monkey and also the dark ages and ages of backwardness. But there is one thing they didn't take into account was keeping some of the super buildings and the giant monuments that revealed the falsification of history towards the truth again. Did you know now? Why were these clips released from the archives? In order to close the superstructure loophole and to delude people that the scholars of the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, they are the ones who created these technologies and built this structure. Otherwise, the pillar would collapse. One of the 9 pillars of the matrix will lead to the collapse of the entire matrix and the rise of the era of awakening again in the next parts. In this documentary series, we will open your eyes to the era of architectural masterpieces and palaces, the destroyer and the secret of the copper towers above. The domed building form is unified throughout the world wherever it is found. So let us reveal to you a technology greater than any technology previously presented that opened the door to understanding who built it, where did it come from, and how life was in real history, so we can tell you. The story of the cities in the bowels of the earth and the American White House. Stay with us for what? He is coming from the events of the journey that has begun. Now,